It's been 3 years since the last Shrek movie, which came along 3 years after the first one. But Shrek the Third feels like a rush job. It's a sure sign that your Shrek script needed more work when 2 of its best laughs are sprung by the gingerbread man. The first 2 films are frequently criticized because of the perception that they wink at pop culture and pander to adults more than they bother with plot and characters. Hogwash, I say. Shrek and Shrek 2 were both story-driven, and Shrek the Third is too. Maybe even more than it should be. I need my Shrek movies to be funnier than this. With his marriage to Princess Fiona now 100% settled, Shrek would prefer to be happily ensconced in his vermin-filled shack. He's a good sport, though, so Ogre and wife are still living in the royal court in Far, Far Away, where Shrek attempts to administer a variety of state functions, while his Frog King father-in-law copes with illness. Then illness becomes death, and Shrek becomes heir to the throne. Unless, that is, he can convince Fiona's regal cousin, Arthur, voiced by Justin Timberlake, to take his place. Shrek, Donkey, and Puss in Boots take up the quest. Fiona and her mother mind the empty palace. There's also a subplot for Prince Charming, who shows up to seize the throne with an army of fairy tale rejects like Captain Hook, Rumpelstiltskin, and the wicked queen who envied Snow White. The rejects scenario is a clever idea, like many in the film, that doesn't yield as much comedic fruit as it ought to. It's funny, for instance, that Shrek and the boys find Artie at a medieval high school, where he's a social outcast with no friends. The filmmakers, 2 new directors and 3 writers with no prior Shrek credits, just don't take it far enough. They also try some things that plain don't work, like the almost laughably miscalculated insertion into an early scene of the Paul McCartney song Live and Let Die. This is still a fine place to be for both the endlessly amusing Eddie Murphy, the voice of Donkey, and Mike Myers, the voice of Shrek. Myers doesn't get nearly enough credit for making a Scots-accented ogre into an emotionally relatable, 3-dimensional guy you'd have an ale with, even if you don't like ale. Shrek the Third isn't quite mediocre, but it misses the mark.